Welcome and thank you for joining the webinar on Nordic chip collaboration. In this webinar, we will introduce the initiative, the reasons behind it, the potential opportunities lying ahead that are based on a pre-study that we conducted together, and how you can be part of shaping the agenda of a Nordic collaboration in semiconductors. We will introduce to you a panel of experts who will present the opportunities both within our markets, but also how we can shape an attractive proposition beyond towards other markets. It's important to highlight that this work is a collaboration between Business Finland, Business Sweden, Innovation Norway, and supported by Nordic Innovation. And now I'll hand over to Camilla, who will present the background, how we started and why are we here.
Thank you, Maj-Lena. So this work was initiated a few months ago and is based on a mapping of the semiconductor ecosystems in Norway, Sweden, and Finland. The mappings were conducted separately by Innovation Norway, Business Sweden, and Business Finland. By comparing these mappings, we found several similarities between our markets. For instance, all three countries have a high level of innovation due to a well-developed R&D environment and infrastructure. We also have diverse ecosystems consisting of small and medium enterprises across the value chain, which contribute to high-impact innovations. Additionally, we have leading companies offering world-class technology that supports the development of the semiconductor sector. And furthermore, there is a shared interest among the companies to increase the sustainability standards within the industry. This provides a strong foundation for leveraging strengths across ecosystems and positioning the Nordics together to create business and investment opportunities. So what is the purpose and expected results from this initiative, Michael?
Thank you, Camilla. The purpose of this initiative is to foster growth and development of the Nordic ecosystem by collaborating and building on each other's strengths. The expected outcome is a stronger position for the Nordic ecosystem, one that not only complements the European ecosystem, but also stands out as a global leader in sustainable practices. So, in practice, this platform focuses on three key areas. The first one is to mobilize the industry to create a unified value proposition. The second one is to raise awareness within and across ecosystems in order to unlock business opportunities. And the third part is coordinating joint efforts to boost export and investment initiatives, targeting semiconductor players in key markets. Nordic Innovation is a crucial partner in this initiative. So, Håkan, can you explain why you're supporting this effort?
Thank you, Mikael. My name is Håkan Lind, and I lead the program called Sustainable Minerals at Nordic Innovation. Nordic Innovation is an organization under the Nordic Council of Ministers, which is in turn the official governmental Nordic cooperation. Our vision is that the Nordics will be the most sustainable and integrated region in the world by 2030. The Sustainable Minerals program that I run was launched by the Nordic Ministers for Trade and Industry in 2020. Since then, geopolitical happenings has elevated the importance of critical raw materials and strategic dependencies. Most projects that we engage with involve external partners, and the trade promotion organizations is a key partner in that field. In 2022, we teamed up with the Nordic Battery Collaboration, which by then had been operational for 1 year. Today, we're glad to be part of this initiative, the startup of the Nordic Chip Collaboration, which fits very well into our project portfolio. And now over to Jessica.
Thank you so much for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Jessica Olsson, and I am a representative from the Nordic Collaboration Management Team. In this team, we continuously evaluate industries and initiatives where we can work together between Innovation Norway, Business Sweden, and Business Finland. And it is a management team under the steerco of our 3 CEOs who meet quarterly to discuss how can we work in the Nordics to be stronger together. And the Nordic Chip Collaboration is one of these initiatives. Another one that we started about 3 years ago is the Nordic Battery Collaboration. It started in 2021, and it is a collaboration driven by Business Finland, Innovation Norway, and Business Sweden. We do it in close partnership with the European Battery Alliance, and we have the support from Nordic Innovation. And why did we start with batteries? Well, it is an industry that is based on traditional industries in the Nordics, where we are very strong. It's based on the Norwegian maritime industry, on the Swedish automotive industry, on the Finnish mining industry, and so on and so forth. We are strong, but the battery industry was new to Europe, and it's a fierce market competition. Markets are challenging, but Europe is very dependent on supply from markets outside of Europe. So in order to strengthen the European competitiveness and keep our jobs here and make sure that we have strategic components in the products and services that we have, we saw, we need to support this industry, because the industry is in lead. But for us, we are there to support these industries and see how can we make it stronger. And for us up in the Nordics, it was very clear that we will be stronger if we do this together. And if you think shortly about the battery industry, it's actually with the headline electrification. Because the battery industry, the value chain, it ranged from the access to raw materials, to battery materials, to the traditional production of cells, but then put that together in a module with the battery management system, with the digital intelligence. And then all the applications where the Nordics are really strong, and then integrating this into the energy system and the electricity system, and never forget the recycling and the reuse to actually make it a circular value chain. So that's what we do, or why we do in the battery value chain. But what are we then actually doing? Well, in order for the Nordic region to be strong in this, we need to work with attracting investments coming into the Nordics, but also supporting the exports and the trade of our companies out in the markets. So we work with gathering the ecosystem in the Nordics to collaborate in triple helix collaborations between industry, academia, and the support organizations or the invest-in regions that we have in all our countries. So we make sure we meet where we are at home. We also meet in strategic markets outside of Sweden. So we meet, for example, in Germany, in the US, in Japan, in South Korea, to make sure that they also know why they should collaborate with the Nordics. We have built up a digital platform, the Nordic Battery Thursdays, where we continuously support the industry to highlight opinions and needs and to showcase what is happening in the Nordics. And these Nordic Battery Thursdays now has a proud 1,500 registered users from 50 countries across the globe. So I might say there is an interest for what is happening in the Nordics. What we also do is strengthening the Nordic narrative to make sure that we all know and speak with the same voice what is happening here. And then we do a lot of other things as well. So I'm really proud that we are now starting off and launching today the Nordic Chip collaboration. And we will also collaborate between industries. So thank you everyone for listening in, and let's keep on going with the program of today.
Thank you very much, Jessica, and thank you for showing how we create value with the Nordic collaboration in other industries. As mentioned already in the introduction, this collaboration has a background in individual country mappings and a pre-study done in the spring of the Nordic semiconductor industry. I will briefly present a snapshot and key takeaways of this study. To start with an overview, when we add all three ecosystems across the value chain, we see diversity and how much stronger the Nordics are together. This is truly impressive. If you put numbers to this value chain that you're watching, on the broader ecosystem, we are looking at an ecosystem with over 280 companies with a revenue generation of over 3 billion euros. IC design, components and materials make up to 70% of the ecosystem, and 12,000 people are directly employed, and this number is expected to double by 2035. So wow, the Nordics are impressive. And in the pre-study, interviews were conducted with 18 key stakeholders in the Nordics for inputs on the strengths, the challenges, and also collaboration opportunities among our countries. And I wanted to highlight two main takeaways that we saw. There is a positive outlook towards collaboration and alignment on the importance of industry for the Nordics. And there's a collaboration on Nordic level on how this would contribute to a stronger and better position Nordics when we think about both enhanced exports, but also attractiveness for investments into our region. When we put this in a global context, 6 areas to address were highlighted. One of those was talent shortage of skilled personnel, particularly engineers for chip design, supply chain disruptions and recent chip shortage, capital intensity, with parts of the industry requiring significant investments in infrastructure and in technology, sustainability. The industry is under pressure to adapt more sustainable measures and practices, including reduction of water, gases and chemicals in the manufacturing process. Geopolitical concentration. The global chip manufacturing is concentrated in a few regions, such as the US, South Korea and Taiwan. This concentration may cause severe supply chain vulnerability. Legislative changes. The recent acts in the US and EU, for instance, the Chips and Fabs Act in the US and the European Chips Act in Europe, these create opportunities, but also pose some challenges to the industry. And to address these challenges, the challenges ahead, the pre-study and interviews highlighted several opportunity areas where the industry can come together and explore solutions. And here, just to emphasize again that this is based on the pre-study, but we really urge all of you viewing today to come with more input and continue to work on this, because this is a snapshot, but we want to keep discussing and keep developing this. But to mention some of those brought up already, sustainability is key, collaborating on developing more sustainable manufacturing practices to reduce environmental impact, R&D infrastructure, utilizing the shared R&D facilities to lower costs, pool expertise, and accelerate technological advancements, building up manufacturing capabilities to complement the joint ecosystem that we saw and support and even complete the ecosystem, bridging the gaps in the lab to fab transition. Advanced packaging, exploring new techniques in advanced packaging in a new area to support Europe, and attracting and retaining talent. Working together towards this area, develop strategies for attracting, training, retaining highly skilled workforce needed to propel the industry forward. And the pre-study also identified 6 collaboration fields representing cutting-edge technology areas within photonics, power electronics, microelectronics, design, MEMS, and quantum. And so, as I said, this pre-study was just a beginning for us in this Nordic chip collaboration, and we urge you listening here to shape this collaboration together in the fall and going forward. So we urge you to sign up for upcoming events and also to suggest new areas and collaboration opportunities. And you will hear more about these events briefly towards the end of the webinar. But with that in mind, thank you for your time, and I welcome Mylena back on stage to hear and dive into insights with our strong panel that we have here during the launch today. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ida. An essential part of this collaboration is the drive from the industry and the key stakeholders. Please let me introduce our 5 panelists. Lars-Erik Wernersson, Professor of Nanoelectronics, Lund University. Mats Karlin, Research Director from the Norwegian Research Institute, SINTEF. Jussi Rautee, Vice President and General Manager, Picosan, part of Applied Materials. Patrik Lundström, CEO of Obducat, and Joonas Mikkilä, Senior Advisor, Technology Industries of Finland. Starting off with you, Jussi. What has been really interesting about Finland is that the industry is really driving the initiative within semiconductors. And we understand that you're also leading the Chip Zero Alliance. How do you work in this, and how can that translate in a Nordic or European perspective?
Let's start from that we expect that the semiconductor market is going to double in next few years. So we are speaking about growth from 500 billion to 1,000 billion in the next few years, driven by AI and now IoT. And as we are the small players in the whole ecosystem, we need to collaborate. And in Finland, we have been pulling together all our companies and industries first under the Technology Industry of Finland, forming our own industry group, and which has been then launching our own semiconductor strategy, starting to work with the industry or semiconductor awareness campaigns to attract more students for the area. But we have also recognized that that we need to connect the dots in the value chain, so that if we are just working in the one specific areas where we are strong, that doesn't generate the overall business growth. So we need to work all together across the value chain as a win-win. And one of these ways to do that is building the strong ecosystem, and Applied Materials has taken a role on that, and supported by Business Finland, and we have started the program called Chip Zero. And there's 2 drivers on that, or 2 objectives. One, to build the ecosystem in Finland working on this field, and the second one is to drive co-development programs which are going across this value chain, primarily in R&D investment growth. And we have 2 teams. We are speaking of a lot of sustainability already, and that's what we are going to drive here in this program, is that we are getting stronger handprint from the semiconductor, but also reducing our footprint, how we are impacting the environment. So far, we have in our ecosystem, we have already 49 companies across not only the Finland, but across the Nordics and the regions. We have already 12 different R&D projects ongoing, which are creating something common together across these different companies as a part of this ecosystem. And we have in those 12 different projects, we have more than 30 companies participating those R&D investments, which are creating something new under that umbrella of Chip Zero. So that's the quite large initiative what we are driving, and then we are also trying to help and connecting the dots by organizing many ecosystem events when we can share our knowledge and competencies across that area. So that's what we do in Finland.
Thank you. Impressive number of new projects. Joonas, most of us know Finland has quite recently launched Chips from the North strategy. What was the key to get this in place? What effects do you foresee by having this strategy?
Well, thank you for this question. I guess I should start by saying that the strategy came to fruition due to a few essential factors that Jussi already hinted to. First off, prior to the strategy, key industry players in Finland had already started to collaborate more closely and thereby speaking in a more common voice. This closer collaboration was a reaction to the trends that most of us are familiar with, namely the surge in the global market demand for semiconductors, destabilizing effects of the pandemic and geopolitics and supply chains, and introduction of significant new EU-level policies aimed at reinvigorating the European chips industry. Also, other stakeholders in the government and academia had also done the same, meaning started to pull together. So the industry and the wider ecosystem in Finland was, in other words, ready to rally around a joint vision and committed to making it happen. So against this backdrop, a common industry-led national strategy felt like a natural next step to take. So we seized the moment. The work on the strategy itself took place over the past winter during our project. Over 200 industry experts and stakeholder representatives had a chance to influence our strategy, and the outcome, which we then released under the title "Chips from the North: A Semiconductor Strategy for Finland," was released in April. I'm personally very happy with the result, mainly because the strategy does four things really well. Number one, it offers a first-of-a-kind deep analysis of the Finnish chip sector, both in terms of industry and academia, which is really helpful, not just for us here in Finland, but also hopefully for our foreign investors and talents who weigh their options between different localities. Number two, for the industry itself, the strategy sets a very ambitious growth target of 5 to 6 billion euros of revenue and 15,000 new employees by the year 2035. When these targets are reached, it means that the Finnish industry has tripled its size and outpaced the global average growth. So this is obviously very, very ambitious target. Thirdly, the strategy identifies opportunities to realize this growth based on our competitive strengths and increasing market demands in the niches where our Finnish companies hold strong positions. These strengths include advanced materials, process technologies, chips design, MEMS and sensors, and the emerging fields of photonics and quantum. And obviously, as we already saw, some of these strengths are shared by our counterparts in other Nordic countries. And lastly and fourthly, the strategy offers concrete measures and policies for the industry, government and academia in the domains of R&D, workforce, investments and ecosystem. And these actions will enable the successful implementation of the strategy. So the strategy has now been out for a few months, but already the industry and other stakeholders have commenced the planning of the implementation. And it is obviously very important to keep up this very, very positive momentum that we have going here in Finland. All in all, I have no doubt that the strategy will further galvanize the Finnish chips domain, and I'm convinced it will help us reach our goals. And in the context of this event, I also hope it serves as a call for our Nordic partners to engage with us, whether it's in R&D projects, talent attraction and mobility, education and reskilling, manufacturing and design side investments, or steering the future EU chips policy.
Thank you, Jonas. That's an impressive and well-articulated strategy from Finland. Now let's move over to Sweden. So Lars-Erik, you have also been driving initiative to gather the Swedish ecosystem and formalize a strategy here. What learnings do you have gathered so far, and how would this benefit from a Nordic collaboration, and considering Finland has this strategy already?
Thank you very much. Interesting. Also very interesting to hear about the impressive Finnish strategy here. So Sweden has a strong effort, I would say, in semiconductors out of tradition. It's been important for the country. But maybe we have forgotten it the last couple of years because we thought that we can buy it on the market. And these are where the changes are coming and we have to rethink what we're doing. And this is where the situation where we are. So, and that is also what happened. We found from Lund University that Sweden was rather passive when it comes to the European Chips Act and to semiconductors. So we initiated discussions on the national level, starting with a roundtable discussion, which is often what we do in Sweden. And from that, we have collected a number of actors from the universities, from the funding agencies, from institutes like RISE are, of course, participating, organization like Svensk Elektronik, Teknikföretagen, Business Sweden, and so on. But also the main actors like Volvo, Ericsson, and Saab, the major companies that really rely on it. And in Sweden, we also have fabrication in MEMS, photonics, power electronics, materials, and so on. But also very important is the system design for the large companies and so on. And when we look into this one, we find that all this, I would say almost all Swedish business sectors are affected by semiconductors, like the digital infrastructure, vehicle technology, it's about automation, it's about quantum and space technology, it's also about defense and security. So this is of importance for this. So what this has resulted is also a national strategy, what we think Sweden should do in this. And we presented that together with Svensk Elektronik in June. The situation in Sweden is we are discussing funding for this, how to fund things. But what we would like to focus on in Sweden is education. When I hear everybody talking about skills is actually the limiting factor. How do we increase the number of students in this area and have competence applied to the industry? Research, and we talk about research on the highest international level so we can compete and collaborate internationally. So we have to build on what we are strong and what is remaining, basically. Infrastructure is important, both for research but also to go from lab to fab considerations. Innovation is a key thing in Sweden, and that is what we would like to foster, looking into new areas. And then also internationalization. And this is where the Nordic comes into play, because we think that we are maybe of the same kind, and we have similar ways of doing things, and I think this will open up for possibilities. I think we should remember that we are small countries in Europe and in the world, but together maybe we can have a stronger voice and so on. And when we look into areas that we would like to see from the Swedish perspective, we're just submitting the National Competence Center to the CHIPS Act. And there we're highlighting in Sweden, of course, circuits and system design. This is very important, not only in silicon CMOS, but also for power electronics and gallium nitride and 3.5s and so on. Power electronics, both silicon carbide and gallium nitride. High-frequency electronics, from the transistors up to the back end of line and to the antenna integration. And then we're also strong on nano devices, new devices fabricated with nanotechniques that could add additional functionality that we can combine with heterogeneous integration. And then maybe a potential fifth area, we also look ahead like quantum, other things, photonics, but advanced materials is also a unique opportunity in Sweden that we think will be strengthened. So there are a couple of palettes of considerations that we are thinking about from a Swedish perspective.
Mats, we know that there are collaboration initiatives are ongoing already in the Nordics, specifically within academia, for instance, the Nordic Nano Network. Given the rapid growth and critical importance of the semiconductor industry, what specific areas or topics should be prioritized for collaboration among Nordic countries to enhance innovation? And how should we go about to select these areas?
Well, I think some of the talkers so far has already been into some of these areas, but I think Jussi and Jonas had some very good points about strengthening the ecosystem across the Nordics. And as you pointed out, the academic collaboration is already there when it comes to the Nordic Nano Network, which primarily has a focus on the needed research infrastructure and the academic collaboration. And this is an opportunity to actually do this with a more industrial setting, I think. And in Norway, we have been participating in the Nordic Nano Network through Norfab, which is the Norwegian Research Infrastructure Collaboration, where we have 3 academic nodes at the University of Trondheim and Oslo and Horten. And Sintef has a more commercially oriented RTO running a pilot line, covering research, development, innovation, small-scale production within sensors, piece-based actuators, and microsystems. And then in addition, in Norway has a very strong fabless microchip design industry, headed by Nordic Semiconductor, which is the largest fabless in Europe, I think. And they also have facilities like in Oulu in Finland. So they are already acknowledging this Nordic relationship, I think. And these companies within the fabless microchip industry, they are typically targeting low power energy management and communication chips and so on. So in a Nordic perspective, I think we could map out what our complementary strengths are, but also within this industrial arena, because this is a high-tech industry creating high value per employee, and it's well suited for highly educated populations. And we cannot compete, I think, with the largest facilities and investments in Europe, but we can approach this with a kind of smartness, building up on our strengths. And you've already mentioned some of the key elements, I think. I mean, on sustainability, we have a position we can take. We can do so within photonics and MEMS and low power. I think there are tremendous opportunities within quantum also. It's a little bit uncertain when it will be a fact. But and then we have new materials and nano devices. But we should focus, I think, on the industry needs. And I think one important thing which we could think about in a kind of a supply chain mode is shortening the loop from lab to fab. And it's quite important, I think, to also utilize the capability in the Nordics to be able to compete on the international arena. In Norway, we are heading the National Chip Center Competence Center, which also Lars-Erik, I think I mentioned, in Sweden. And this will be quite important to help SMEs access the pilot lines across Europe, but also, of course, within the Nordic countries. So being aware of what is the capabilities, I think, is quite important. And to have a good overview of the capacity in the Nordics. And that is something we need to succeed with the competence centers anyway. And we also think that we have something to gain by having a stronger common presence in the European arena, if we really are able to unite. I mean, Finland has been the driving force here, I think, in the Nordics. We acknowledge that, so we will probably have to look for you to take some kind of a lead here. But I think we are willing to contribute from all the 3 countries to really contribute with the resources we need to succeed. So that is something from me, I think.
Great, thank you very much, Mats. Now over to Patrick. We have seen several challenges in the industry right now that are translating into opportunities. In your experience, where do you see the greatest need for collaboration?
Well, I mean, if we start by looking at what kind of challenges there are out there, have been and are still there, of course, it has already been addressed before here today that competence is a big part, which needs to be worked on. And of course, from an educational point of view, maybe there is opportunities for the countries from university level and so on to collaborate and coordinate so that we get the competence we will require moving forward in Europe, from a European perspective at least, that we work on that. There are, of course, continuously technical challenges in the industry, which is related to forwarding the semiconductor technology on a general level, which means Moore's law and the replacement of that and how we're going to move forward. That in itself creates opportunities for new entrants and new technologies to be implemented. And as said before, Nordic region and European region have a strong foothold when it comes to R&D activities and so forth. So we should, of course, continue to work on that. But I think that also there is another challenge which we need to take on, and that is what actually we have to reclaim some of the know-how that is needed in actually running these manufacturing processes, because even though that Europe has a strong, let's say, infrastructure when it comes to the equipment that are being used to produce semiconductors, there is an important thing, and that is the know-how on actually being able to use the tools to produce semiconductors, and we need to reclaim that knowledge and know-how. And that's something that we should take into consideration. We do have, especially in the Nordic region, we have a number of very capable tool suppliers, or let's say technology providers. We should make sure that we utilize this to the best we can from a Nordic perspective to strengthen the collaboration between the industry and participants, to make that map on what do we actually have, where do we have parts which are missing. I think it's also worth to note that since Sweden and Finland has also come into the NATO membership situation, we have a much better opportunity to work on special electronics, especially related to gallium nitride and similar materials. Components are maybe defense related. This is also an important aspect, maybe from a very strategic point of view, for the Nordic region and for the countries. So these things are sort of technology challenges are of course feeding the map of what can be done and what kind of new opportunities are being opened up. We have also had the supply chain issue, which has created disruptions around the world from COVID and onwards, although that is being sort of step by step improved now, but still that opens up new possibilities, especially when you consider the geopolitical aspects, which may be another challenge, which means that we will onshore, or we will bring manufacturing, we'll build up more manufacturing here in Europe, and that will require additional infrastructure to be built up. That creates business opportunities, but at the same time, I would say that that is also the big part of being able to develop let's say a infrastructure ecosystem around these new investments that CHIPS Act money will drive, even though that the mega fabs and these high-end fabs will not necessarily create a lot of business, or job opportunities in that sense, because they are so highly automated, but there will be an ecosystem around this that will be created. And I think that that's where we should also look for opportunities, from everything from component development and so on, and to drive it maybe not only towards automotive, which has been historically very heavy in Europe, but to other application areas. And the last bit I see where Nordic region is considered a strong advocate for sustainability, I think that we should definitely continue to push that, and from our perspective work on these kind of solutions to implement better solutions from a sustainability point of view in the semiconductor manufacturing space.
Excellent, thank you. Now to wrap up all this, there's a lot of things happening, a lot of collaborations and initiatives, both on global level, regional level, local level, innovation, commercial aspects, and so on. How do we make sure that this Nordic chip collaboration brings value to the ecosystem in our 3 countries? So I'll let you give the top number 1 thing that you have on your mind. I'll hand over back to Patrick to start.
Well, from my point of view, I would say that the initiative that has been started here is very good, and I would like to see that will be the driving point. As many of you know, we have most of our target markets somewhere else far away. But if there is someone who facilitates the meeting of these players in the industry and so and academia and institutes, so that we really create a communication platform jointly, that will be what is needed to be able to succeed with this, because we will participate for sure if there is someone who facilitates it.
Excellent, and that's exactly what we'll do. Lars, Eric, from your perspective.
Yeah, I'm thinking about along the same lines. I think starting with this business-to-business connections to bring the complete ecosystem, I think this is one thing that is maybe where we can add new things and so on. I think there are quite good collaborations on the academic side already. But then also I think that these national competence centers that are about to be formed, I think the connection between those are also a cornerstone that we could combine with the business-to-business interactions.
That's a very good point. Thank you. Mats, over to you.
Yeah, I think we should all remember that all the Nordic countries has a legacy within microchips. We also have a reputation for delivering quality, I think, and we collaborate quite smoothly. And I think this gives us a great opportunity to look at strengthening the ecosystem across the Nordics. I think that's the main takeaway at the moment. And to do that, we need some kind of platform, some kind of communication channel to actually do this in real life and form it around something where we work together. That is what we need, I think.
Thank you. Then over to Jonas.
Well, I believe that the key here is to focus our three-country collaboration on areas where we can actually be greater than the sum of our parts. So the work on the common Nordic chips platform should start by bringing key players together to discuss these shared opportunities and shared challenges and possible joint solutions to them. So the more concrete and actionable these measures are, the better, obviously. One area that I would encourage us to look into is talent mobility and talent creation. For instance, could there be a coordinated Nordic effort to help our semiconductor companies to locate and attract talent in third countries? Or could we perhaps develop joint reskilling programs for those professionals who are interested in transferring to the chips industry from other industries? This is just an idea. There could be several others.
Thank you. And then over to Jussi.
I think it's the key here is to first understand and take a look at stock take what we have currently in the Nordics. I think we know all the large players and what they do, but we have a lot of small startups, small players, where we need to help those companies to get connected with others. And again, what I was highlighting earlier is that we need to build that across that value chain, so that that how they help each others with the business mind. So if there is no value creation for the next step, then there is no interest. So we need to be able to connect the dots in the value chain, and then but that starts that we understand what are those dots and where they are. So then we can help them to collaborate. So I think that's the first point where we need to start.
Thank you to all panelists. Now we have officially launched the Nordic Chip Collaboration. So what is next, Camilla?
Well, first of all, this collaboration is based on engagement from the industry, and therefore we would like input from you. On the screen, you see a QR code that leads to a questionnaire that we would like you to answer so we can tailor the next steps. So we hope that you will scan the code and answer the questions. We will also send this QR code by email after the webinar. What else, Michael?
Yeah, thank you, Camilla. I mean, part of this input is going to be in order to prepare the next step in this initiative. And this is a webinar in early November where we dive deeper into some of the key themes we touched on today. And of course, A third event is a physical meeting in Helsinki between 3rd and 4th of December. So please block your calendars and we will be following up with more information. Wrapping this webinar up, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. We hope that this session provided valuable insights into our initiative and the exciting opportunities ahead. Your engagement is key to driving this effort forward, and we look forward to continuing this journey together. Please spread the word. Please share this initiative within your networks. The more we collaborate, the stronger our collective impact. Once again, thank you for your time and participation.